Good morning, everyone. I decided to get up this morning and kind of make an emergency video. I had a different video I was going to post today, just other asks that I had recorded last week. And I will post that. I just pushed it back because there has been an insane amount of stuff that has been happening over the past 24 hours, and I wanted to comment on it. And it is all very, very good stuff for us. So the other day, the first thing that happened is that the Skybound account posted a Beth and Daryl edit. I screen recorded it. I'm going to show it to you here, and hopefully it doesn't get silenced or anything. Actually, I'll probably have to do it on mute without sound. Otherwise, I think they will repress the video because it is footage from The Walking Dead. Anyway, it's a big deal because it's a Beth and Daryl edit, and Skybound is an official account. It's one of the most official accounts you can actually find for The Walking Dead. Apparently, the social media guy who runs the account created the edit, but that account is all kinds of sanctioned by the showrunners, okay? Nothing goes onto that account that has not been meticulously looked at and approved. So, we say that about a lot of the Walking Dead accounts and how we think even some of them that masquerade as fan accounts might really be run by the show. And of course, that's our opinion. We can't prove that if it's just, listed as a fan account. But this is a big deal because it's not listed as a fan account. This is not our opinion, guys. This is a completely official Walking Dead TWD universe run by the powers that be account. And there is no way that this person who runs the account, understand when I say that, it's not some fan running the account. The show, the production runs the account, but of course they just have someone who actually posts for them that they pay, who's the social media manager. And apparently that person is the one who created the edit and obviously posted it. But not only would they have not let him post it without their express permission, I think they probably told him to create it, or her. I'm not even sure whether it's a man or a woman. Sorry if I'm screwing that up. They probably told this person to create it in the first place. So not only is it a Beth and Daryl edit, which is really big, but there's so many great points in it that just give me the warm fuzzies. It's Beth's famous speech about how she survived, that when they were fighting in Still. So I think it's really important that they included the line, "I made it." The other thing I noticed watching it a couple of times is that we get scenes of Daryl reacting to the deaths of both Merle and Glenn, if you watch really closely. So it does show a real quick clip from season 3 when he finds Merle and, has to put him down. And then it shows part of when he's in the sanctuary and he's crying, and that was after Glenn died, right? Then he felt very guilty and was in a really dark place about Glenn. And the reason that I point that out, obviously it shows stuff with Beth too, that's foregone conclusion. But the reason that I point that out is because in the leaked script for what is apparently one of the last scenes in the finale, he is talking. Okay, so I'm going to give these spoilers if you don't want to know about the spoilers that were leaked in the leaked script. I've already done videos about this, so I'm assuming if you're listening, you're good with it. But if you're not, I'm going to talk about them right now. Apparently, Isabelle dies, and he's hallucinating. Him and Caryl end up in some sort of a place where there's some sort of gas or something that makes them both hallucinate. And Caryl hallucinates Sophia, so that's where we're going to get some Sophia flashbacks. And Daryl hallucinates Isabelle, and he mentions Glenn, Beth, and Merle. So I talked about this a couple of videos ago when I talked about the leaked script, right? Those are clearly the 3 that he feels the most guilty about, that are still affecting him moving forward. And that almost felt like this was very much what that video was about. There was an obvious emphasis on Beth because it was her voiceover and because we didn't really see any of the others. Like I said, we kind of see Merle in that scene that's, just a real quick clip from season 3, but it even blurs some of it out. And I think it's because it's gory. They didn't want to put gore in there. But we don't actually see Daryl interacting with Merle when he was alive, or Glenn, but we see more of Beth, right? So it just seems to me, again, that this is very, very purposeful. It's lining up with where they're going in season 2, and that's a big deal. They're telling us that. In terms of what's actually in there, I just absolutely love the way they did this edit, because it shows most of the clips of Daryl that it shows is just him alone, sitting or standing somewhere and not saying anything. Okay, so this is not, they're not giving us scenes with other characters. They're not giving us scenes with a lot of dialogue. They're just showing Daryl, and they're usually at times when he was either being really emotional about something or being very contemplative about something. So it just makes it look like he's thinking about Beth the whole edit. Like it shows all of these scenes. And with the voiceover, that's the impression I got. That's what it makes it feel like, is that in each of those scenes, it's trying to show him thinking about her and what she said. And I don't know if that's what they're going for, and clearly not all of those scenes that was actually the case in the show. But I mean, we've always said that we think that he thinks about her a lot, and that it's something that is still with him and that he's never completely gotten over. So I just loved the whole way this edit was done. It gave me chills in the best way. It gave me warm fuzzies. And then, they say the I made it. And I also want to point out, and that I absolutely loved, that it kind of ends, during the part of the voiceover when she's saying, you don't get to treat me like crap because you're afraid. Right when it says afraid, it shows him sitting on the riverbank in Find Me. And that was actually the first thing I thought the very first time I watched it, is that I loved that they included stuff from Find Me, because again, it suggests that there was a lot of things in Find Me, and his state of mind and the things he was sitting around thinking about had a lot to do with Beth. And we've always said that, even though we couldn't prove it. So yeah, this was just fabulous. Just a fantastic edit. And once again, it's really, really important that it's coming from an official account. You would have to look back through what else this account has posted, but very often before a season began, even, back when they were in the flagship show, they would post things that would suggest where they were going in the upcoming season. Not everything they've ever posted is necessarily that, but anyway, they are one that definitely has done that before. And I want to say, I don't think I could say for sure. I almost want to say that this is an account that was not as big at posting Beth as some of the other accounts were, or Beth-related things. Anytime they posted anything to do with her that we were, side-eyeing and analyzing and all of that, it wasn't this one as much, because Skybound was originally one that was focused more on the comic books, and that really evolved over time. They posted tons and tons of stuff about the show and the actors, and so it wasn't like exclusively comic book or anything, but originally I think that's what it was founded based on. And so it seems to me like maybe they weren't as big at posting Beth stuff as some of the other accounts, but again, don't take my word on that. I don't remember for sure, and I haven't really kept track about what one account versus another account posts. So it was just something I was thinking about. So anyway, either way, it's a big deal that they posted this. So this is really, really great, and this alone, I would have been very, very happy with. We would have had a great week and been super pumped, for the season premiere of Daryl Dixon season 2 to begin. But right on the heels of that, within a couple of days, yesterday to be exact, is when it seemed to start. I don't know when it was posted, but it started making the rounds yesterday. An interview with Zabel, and I still don't know if I'm saying his name right, Zabel, whatever his name, however you say his name, the showrunner, basically very firmly, straightforwardly telling us that Daryl and Carol are not going to be a couple. Now, this was obviously not shocking to any of us. We've been saying this for years. But this is also the first time that we've seen a showrunner come right out and say it. I will say that, and I've mentioned this before, but it was a lot more subtle than this, so it wasn't exactly the same thing. Back when the flagship show was still running, I mean, it was right at the end, so I want to say it was season 10 or 11, there was a Talking Dead where, they would always have a fan ask a question, and it was an episode that Angela King was on. And one of the fans asked her point blank if Daryl and Carol would get together, and she basically said no. I mean, she didn't come right out and say, no, that won't happen. It wasn't those exact words, but if you looked at her body language, she suddenly became very uncomfortable, and you could tell she was really trying to let this fan down easy, and she just said, well, they have a great connection, and, you might just have to learn to enjoy the connection that they have for what it is, kind of a thing. So it was an obvious no, but of course certain shippers are not going to accept that or pick up on that, or it was obvious to those of us who were not being delusional about where the show is going with this. So I mean, I only say that to say that this was not shocking to any of us who have actually paid attention to what the showrunners have said before, but most shippers from that fandom have not, and or they just have ignored it, So in this case, Zabel came right out and said, no, that's not where we're going with it anytime soon, and he didn't say anytime soon. I noticed that some of the people who were reporting on it kind of said that, and it's almost a way to cushion it, like maybe it could still happen. But Zabel didn't really even say that in the interview. He just said, you know what, let me just read it to you so that I'm not reading it wrong. So I will go ahead and link this in the show notes for anybody who hasn't seen it. But the first paragraph says, sorry, Carol shippers, the team behind The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, don't have any plans to inject romance into Carol and Daryl's relationship anytime soon. Now, keep in mind, that is not the showrunner speaking. That is the person who wrote the article. And then down below, it actually has the quotes from Isabelle. The obvious thing to do, he says, and the easier thing to do would be, okay, now they're falling in love and they're a couple. So he's talking about Daryl and Carol, and he's saying that would be the obvious, easy thing to do. But I always felt like that would be a mistake because it would feel like you're going into the TV book of tricks, he explains. To me, there was never a question that their connection was something other than what it is and what it seems to want to be and why it works so well. So he's not saying that they're going to at some point, and he's not even really leaving the door open for them to do it in the future, at least not under his watch, right? I mean, it's always, you could argue it's always possible in 3 years he gets fired, someone else comes in or something, but I think we all know that that's not the case because he's not making the decisions. As we've said from the very beginning, this goes up all the way to the top. Gimple and Kang and other people are the ones who are okaying all of the storylines. I absolutely believe that Zabel has a lot to do with crafting how that storyline plays out, but they are getting their everything they do is approved from the top, right? So it's not like Zabel can do whatever he wants anyway. But he says he always felt like that would be a mistake because it would be almost like jumping the shark a little bit is what he's saying. Like it would almost do a disservice because it would be like, that's what everybody would do, or that is what the easy thing to do would be, and we want to do something different. I did see in the Caryl tag a lot of people sort of interpreting that final line about their connection with something other than what it is, what it seems to want to be, and why it works so well. I don't know exactly what he's saying with that. It is a little bit convoluted, but the way I take that is it kind of the way that Norman's always explained it, that they do have a really deep connection on kind of a soul level. But I think when he says what it seems to want to be, he's saying that people want it to be romantic, but that's not what it is. Maybe it seems to want to be romantic because they're always hanging out together and all that, but that's not the case. That's not what their connection is based in. It's actually based, I mean, they're best friends, we all know that, but it's really very much based in past trauma, and I think that's why they support each other so much, but it's not going to be romantic. And if he's saying that it's not based in anything romantic, then that's why the showrunners are never going to take it there. So anyway, this is just an article, and it's a big deal. And I honestly, I didn't go into the tags that much, but I had other people sending me stuff. And, we honestly, yeah, of course there was drama among the shippers, but it wasn't quite as much as I thought it would be. Honestly, I mean, they're angry, and understandably so. And there's some vitriol flying around for sure, but they're mostly just licking their wounds right now. And a lot of them, had the foresight, at least to say earlier than this, that they weren't sure that they were going to get what they wanted, meaning Daryl and Carol romantic relationship. So I think they kind of, a lot of them had a feeling that would be the case. The other thing that this is doing is that there are certain people in that fandom who have been claiming for a long time that this was happening this season, that Daryl and Carol would become romantic and go canon and all of that, and that they had inside information that would happen. And I tend to get a lot of messages when they say things like that, because it freaks people out. They say, yeah, but this person says they have inside information and that this is actually happening, and what if they're telling the truth? And, my response to that is like, yeah, but what if they're lying? You guys, I can't tell you how many times over the years, like going back years to when, season 6 and 7 and 8 of the flagship show, when people would contact me and say, I have inside information and this is happening. And sometimes it was even good stuff. I remember someone contacting me, I want to say it was not that long after Coda, like maybe season 6 or 7, saying that they knew someone who knew the showrunners and had inside information, and Beth was definitely coming back that season. And I think this person was probably trying to trick me into posting that so they could discredit me later on. But I didn't. I was like, well, that's great, and I'm not going to tell this person they're a liar because I don't know if they have inside information, and I hope Beth comes back this season. We all do. But I'm not going to post something like that because anyone can say that. If you don't know what their source is and you don't trust them implicitly, which it's hard to do when you're on the internet because you don't really know people that well. You want to trust them, and especially people in our fandom, but we all know that the internet can be an interesting place, right? So I just never fell for anything like that. And I would just say, whether it's about Daryl and Carol going canon or Beth coming back, it doesn't matter what it is, Rick showing up before he did anything, until it actually happens, I'm not going to post that I know any differently. I'm just going to post that this is the symbolism that they're going to come back eventually, but we don't know when. And I'm going to hold out hope because of that symbolism, and it has not been fulfilled yet, So all I'm saying is that one thing this is doing is taking some of those people in the other fandom who were claiming they had inside information and that this was happening. This is just exposing that they never did. They were just saying that to get people to listen to them. So just something to be careful of in the future. Okay, so that was the second thing that happened on the heels of the first. So we had the Beth and Daryl edit on the official Skybound account. Then we have this interview with the showrunner saying Daryl and Carol are not a thing. And then just this morning, I was tagged in something else in which 2 other pretty big official Walking Dead accounts are also posting Beth. One of them is Scott Gimple. He reposted the trailer of season 4, which the first shot has Beth and Daryl. It's the Bethyl hug from 401. And he posted, I haven't seen this one in forever. It just, of course, that's something that anyone could say, oh, he's just being nostalgic or something, but it seems awfully convenient on the heels of everything else that we've seen in the last couple of days. And then Dead City also, the official Dead City account also posted a throwback picture, which has a lot of people in it. It's from season 5, maybe that's season 4, one of the two, but it has Andy and Melissa McBride and Lauren Cohen and Chandler and Stephen Yeun and Emily Kinney. So this one has a whole bunch of people in it, and it was one of the pictures that was taken to promote that season, but the point is Beth is in it. So, and that's Dead City. I mean, I guess you could, if anything, you could probably argue that they were posting it as a throwback for Lauren Cohen, since she's one of the 2 main stars in Dead City, but they happen to use a picture that has Beth in it as well. And Glenn, and why that picture in particular. They could have posted anything of just Lauren, as a throwback. So the point is we're getting a lot of Beth right now, and it's very, very on the nose. And as I told a few people yesterday that I was messaging with, it doesn't surprise me that this would come out now. I mean, guys, we're only a few weeks from, in fact, isn't it September 31st that it comes out? I'll have to double check that. Let me look at my calendar here. Is that a Sunday? No, it's probably the 29th, so I'm wrong. Anyway, but the point is, we're only a month out, and you might ask, why do this now? Why put the idea of Daryl and Carol to rest now. Why haven't they done it before? And I think it is what we've always said before, and that is that they didn't want to piss off the fans unnecessarily. They were catering and trying to get them to keep watching, and, you know, people have a problem with that. They say, oh, I wish they wouldn't do that. I wish they would just set their records straight. And I understand, but you also have to keep in mind that they are running a business, and their job is to get as many people to watch the show as possible. So, of course, they're not going to go out of their way to piss off the fans, right? They're just not going to. But the reason I think they're doing this now, which is definitely pissing off that particular fandom, is because it's about to drop, right? And they're you know, setting expectations, making sure they know that that is not what is happening this season. And honestly, they've been doing it for a long time. Once again, that fandom just doesn't want to believe what they're actually hearing most of the time. I mean, for months now, they've done a Carol and Daryl friendship campaign. Every single post that comes out, yeah, they are posting about Daryl and Carol in order to hype up the new season, and that is exactly what I would expect them to do. But every single time they're doing hashtag friendship and hashtag BFF, and you know what I mean? Like, they're going out of their way to try and show us that this is not a romantic relationship. So it's not like this is the first we're hearing about this, okay? I mean, really, they've been doing it for years, and it's been a little bit more muddled in the past, I will admit that. But especially the last few months, they've been going out of their way to really push that this is a friendship, not a romance. And then this comes out and the fandom, you know, that, again, that particular fandom is going, I can't believe it, where is this coming from? And, you know, we're just kind of face-palming over here going, guys, they've really been trying to tell you this for a long time, you know. But now they're being very direct and very on the nose about it because the season is about to start. And honestly, guys, I really do, even other than all the other evidence that we've had about Beth showing up this season in some form, to me, this is even more evidence of that. Because if it was just going to be Daryl and Carol on an adventure together, you know, even if they weren't, you know, clearly we know that they're not going to be romantic, but even if it was just the two of them, no Beth, and you know, they still weren't going to be romantic, of course, but it was just the two of them, I don't think the showrunners would do this. I think that they would leave open the door and not mention it directly, just like they always have for the last 10 years, right? Or more, in order to keep that fandom still watching and in order to keep them kind of hoping that maybe it could happen. The fact that they are, because that's what they've always done, right? They've never come right out and said, we're not making Daryl and Carol romantic, you got to get over that idea. They've never done that, and it's been 14 years, right? Well, since the pilot. And why are they doing this now? Again, I reiterate, if it was just the two of them going on an adventure, then that would be no different than what's been for the last 14 years. And I don't think that they would come out and say this. So to me, there's something different here than there has been in the last 14 years that is making them decide to come out and say this, even though they know that they're going to alienate that corner of the fandom, okay? And the only thing I think that could be is that Daryl is going to get a love interest. It is not going to be Caryl. And we all know who we think that's going to be, especially given that they are putting they're putting Beth and Daryl edits that include the line, I made it, on the official account, and they're posting her on other accounts, and Gimple is posting a reminder of season 4 and the Bethyl hug, and season 4 is where Bethyl became a thing, and you know what I mean? It just all points to the same thing. We've got Emily saying suspicious stuff at cons, and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and do a quick video about this, and yes, I am with you guys. Those are where my thoughts are. We are all thinking the same thing. It is a big deal, and we think she's going to show up this season. We don't know in what form. We don't know. It doesn't sound like Daryl is going to know that she's alive. You know, we could be wrong, but from what was leaked, that's what it's looking like. But that doesn't mean she's not going to show up in some form. And I have a hard time believing that all of this would be happening if she's not showing up till season 3. So I'm hopeful still. And in terms of Isabelle, I've gotten some questions about Isabelle, because especially in the same article, they talk about it a little bit. And I do think that they're going to explore the idea of Daryl and Isabelle, but we're pretty sure Isabelle dies. So even if there was some chance of the two of them together. Even if they did get them together, I don't think they will. I would be surprised. But even if, let's say they do, I don't know, kiss or something. I know, nobody wants that. But it's just going to be another person that's going to die. And here's the thing is, let's say that it does play out that way, that it looks like him and her are going to get together. Based on the leaked pages, not only does she die, but he's sort of talking to her at the end, but he's hallucinating her, so it's like the ghost of Isabelle. And he says the thing about, if you see Beth or Glenn or Merle, tell them I did the best I could, that I tried. To me, that doesn't seem like he's terribly upset about losing Isabelle. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he's upset, but not as upset as he was about some of these other people he lost. And it's like he just kind of accepted it. So to me, that does not scream Daryl's in love with Isabelle. And not that I expected him to be. I mean, I've talked about this extensively, that he's lonely and he's open to companionship, whoever that comes from. That doesn't mean he's in love with her. So I do think that they will explore that a little bit, and we might get some moments where it seems like there's something there, but I don't know. I'm not worried about it. Don't let that freak you out. That's just them moving him toward being ready for a relationship with Beth. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in too, because I've had a lot of questions about it. All right, that's it for today. Let's hope we continue to get more of this fabulousness as we head toward the premiere of season 2. And I will have more videos for you later in the week. I've got more asks and more stuff to talk about. So I will be back soon. Bye guys, have a great weekend.